Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the Fan Cave. Bob Pompeani with you until 11 o'clock tonight at 412-575-2600. That's the number to call. Twitter, it's at KDPomp, and business is booming, as Antonio Brown used to say. That is the eve of Steelers training camp, and the Pirates have won 2 in a row. Baseball is a very strange sport when you think about it. Over 162 games, you're going to see a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of things you didn't think you would see. Like, for example, the Chicago White Sox coming to Pittsburgh over the weekend with 30 games under 500 on the record, and they sweep the Pirates and outscore them 27-7. And then Detroit comes to town as one of the best teams in baseball, and the Pirates have had their way, winning last night 3-0, winning tonight 8-5. And they did something tonight they've never done at PNC Park, which is to hit 8 doubles in one game. So it really doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, other than the Pirates are going to have to make a decision about Mitch Keller. And this could have been Mitch Keller's final game as a Pirates starter. Who knows? The trade deadline is 10 days away. His name has been linked to a lot of teams. And the thing about today's market, it is a seller's market. There are a lot of teams involved with pennant races, with wild card chases. And so those teams could be inspired to make a deal. And they may be willing to engage in sort of a bidding war and maybe help the Pirates if they decide to trade Mitch Keller. I'd like to hear from you at 412-575-2600. What should the Pirates do with Mitch Keller? Would you keep him? And there's a case to be made for that because, quite frankly, starting pitching this year has been not the problem. It has been a good thing for them generally. They have had no hitting, and they need hitting. But if you retain him with 3 years left on a current contract at a price that's very affordable, I think, him along with Skeen's pretty good 1-2 punch. They're 1-2 in the majors when it comes to complete, or I should say quality starts. You don't find that too often on a team that's this far under 500. It goes to show you how much they lack in hitting. But you pair him with Jarrett Jones. I know he won't be back till midseason, but you know his potential. Bubba Chandler, anyone else they have. Mike Burrows has shown that he possibly could be that guy. Johan Oviedo. They have options there. But some people will say, well, they have depth in pitching, so therefore trade some of it, which is an argument you can see as well. The problem is that pitching depth is mostly potential at this point. Aside from Skeens, who else is going to make you think that they can come in and be, every fifth-day starter on this team? Certainly Ashcraft can do it. I think Thomas Harrington potentially can. He struggled when he was up here. There are guys who can do it, but they haven't done it yet. So it will be very interesting to see what Ben Cherington does in what may be his final year as a Pirate general manager. Who knows? 412-575-2600. You can opine on that. Also, we're going to talk about the Steelers and their roster. ESPN ranked it as the 19th best roster in the NFL, which is surprising to me, given what they've done, because they had a lot of big-name guys, and maybe it's because they're older. But Aaron Rodgers is certainly a 4-time MVP of the league, certainly not now the way he's played of late, but he has that pedigree. And then you have DK Metcalf coming in. You have a guy like Jonnu Smith, who had 88 catches last year. You had Jalen Ramsey. You had Darius Slay. Again, older players, but very, very well known around the league, and yet their roster is viewed as 19th overall. It all starts up tomorrow. TJ Watt will be there, no distractions. Meanwhile, in Cincinnati, they have a few distractions. Their first-round pick hasn't signed. He plays the same position as their holdout defensive edge rusher in Trey Hendrickson. So Cincinnati needs help on defense. We saw that last year. They played 7 games that were decided by one possession, and they lost most of those because of their defense. They can score points. We're the best of them, but they also give up a lot of points. So I'd love to hear what you think about the AFC North as we begin training camp tomorrow, and it'll go all the way into the first game, which is August the 9th, right here on KDKA-TV. It's our Xfinity tweet of the night, and it comes from Platinum Key Bryan. He does a good job posting this stuff. Mitch Keller tonight, 6 innings, 1 bad pitch really, and Rodgers took him downtown for a 3-run home run. He has 15 quality starts now. That's tied for the most in Major League Baseball and a 3.53 ERA. Don't trade him, says Platinum Key Bryan. We welcome in Andrew Fillipponi up at 93.7 The Fan. Andrew, that's going to be the debate. What do you do with Mitch Keller, a team that certainly needs him, but also needs a lot of offensive help, and he could bring some of it potentially. What would you do?
Well, I wouldn't trade him because their general manager doesn't know what he's doing. So that's the reason why you have to keep him. He's incapable of pulling off a trade like this. He failed with Jamison Tyone. He failed with Josh Bell. He failed with Starling Marte. He failed with Joe Musgrove. he's failed with all the higher-end players that he dealt in order to try to rebuild this thing. So, no, you don't trade Mitch Keller, because I don't think the general manager has either the people in place telling him these are the prospects to get, or his own decision-making when it comes to who the right young players are in terms of hitters is very far off. So for that reason, more than anything else, Bob, I think you keep Mitch Keller, and the guy you bring in next to run the Pirates will have to make that decision this offseason.
Yeah, and I do believe offseason is probably the best way to do it. You'll probably get more in return depending on, how this goes at the trade deadline. It is a seller's market. There are teams that need pitching help, a lot of good teams out there, so that plays in their favor. But at the same time, you're right. Ben Cherington has done nothing to make you think that he could pull off the kind of heist that he needs to make here. And if that's the case, you can go through the scenario even next year at the trade deadline with Keller. In the meantime, if they don't do it, how do they change this offense? Forget about tonight's 8 doubles, 14 hits. Generally speaking, it's been one of the worst offenses in baseball, and they need it to get better given the potential of this staff next year. What do?
Well, they get rid of a lot of people is what they do. You're going to have to, I think, have a clean sweep at GM. You're going to have to bring in better people and pay them more money to run the analytics departments. You're going to have to bring in better scouts in terms of people who scout drafts, scout other teams for major league talent, and also your coaches. This team has had systemic hitting problems. It's not just one or two guys. It's multiple players. Not that they're great players to begin with, but by and large, they're all underachieving. And the same thing is true at most levels of the minor leagues as well. So this is deeper than just a major league hitting coach or somebody like that. This is throughout the entire organization, where guys come here and they get worse or they stay the same. So that's what I would do. I don't think that there's a cure-all, fix-all in terms of a trade. I really don't. I don't think they're close at all. So that's what I would do in order to try to kickstart this thing moving forward.
We want to hear from you at 412-575-2600. Ryan Zedek on Twitter says the Pirates should also revamp their catching roster. No other team gets less production from that area than they do. And this would include Joey Bart. And Joey Bart has been a complete disappointment this year based on what the expectations were coming in.
I agree. Not that there should have been high expectations. He had a great season relative to how the Pirates picked him up, which was for basically nothing. They traded Austin Strickland, who was a minor league bullpen arm for him. And he was a good hitter last year. I think 14 home runs. Mm-hmm. And he's gone back to being the guy he was that the Giants said, see you later, we don't need you. Just gave him away. Bob, I'd like to just say one thing, and I'm not calling out any Pirates broadcaster in particular when I say this, but I was listening to, it might have been Donnie Kelly saying this, so it's not a broadcaster, it's the actual manager, and I like Donnie a lot. But we've gotten to a point where Henry Davis, where we're praising him for the way he handles Paul Skeens when he Skeens personal catcher. That would be like you coming on the air and saying, you know what made Tiger Woods great back in 2000? His caddy. No. I mean, it's embarrassing that we have to give Henry Davis a pat on the fanny for catching Paul Skeens. You could probably catch Paul Skeens. I don't think it's very hard. He's the best pitcher in baseball by far. Whether it's Yogi Berra, Henry Davis, Bobby Estalella, Jason Jaramillo, you name them. Rod Barajas, anybody could be back there with him, and he would be great. So it's just a joke that they took that guy 1-1. He's hitting under 200, and he gets like a blue ribbon for being a good receiver for Paul Skeens. Cal Raleigh's got almost 40 home runs. That's a real catcher. Okay, this guy's terrible. Let's call it what it is, Bob.
Yeah, and
he's
Cal
awful.
Raleigh was available for the Pirates back when they took Travis Swaggerty, and instead, in the third round, Raleigh goes to Seattle. All right, you see our question, KDKA.com Connect, and it is, should the Pirates try to trade Mitch Keller? So far, 77% or 71 say no, do not trade him. Let's go to the phone lines, 412-575-2600. David in Northside, you're first up. Hey, Dave.
I like to see a general manager like a Craig Patrick type. We need a Craig Patrick of baseball, because every time when Craig Patrick made a trade for his hockey players, we always got value. That's what we need. Try to get value. If you're going to get trade people, you got to get value.
Yeah, and you can't be afraid to trade bigger players, too, if that's the case. But the return is the key. And as we've said before, the returns historically on Ben Cherington have not been good given what he's had to work with. Let's go out to Dave and Zealy and Opal. Hey, Dave, how are you? Hello, Dave.
I am batting in the cleanup tonight, and we have all these season ticket holders, and they're probably in the better seats, so even if nobody shows up, you're going to still have all these people paying the money, and so they're still going to make money.
Yeah, they'll make money. They always make money. Bob Nutting knows that. He makes money because this weekend he had 28,000, 38,000, and 19,000, all to watch the White Sox play. They weren't there to watch the White Sox. They had giveaways and things of this nature. That's, but the bottom line here, if you're going to complain about that, is I get it. But at the same time, it's on him. I looked at the Brewers here tonight and was going through their roster, Andrew. Here they are surging at like 11 wins in a row. They have a payroll that the Pirates should try to not only emulate but exceed. And they also have done a good job with Matt Arnold as their general manager, someone the Pirates chose not to hire. Instead, they gave it to Ben Cherington. He's had a way of making things happen with their system in terms of little tiny trades that have made a big difference for them. So there's ways to do it, but you got to be smart about it too.
Well, and they have cut some payroll, and they're still doing this.
And they traded Corbin Burns on top of everything else.
I was just going to say, they traded Corbin Burns to Baltimore. They let Adames go to San Francisco in free agency. So they were supposed to take a step back. They traded Devin Williams, the closer, to the Yankees in the offseason, a guy that was a dynamite relief pitcher and an all-star. So they've done things, they've done a little Oakland A's and Tampa Bay Rays here, where, yeah, they've paid guys like Christian Yelich. They're not, they gave Chiriot that contract before his major league career even started. So they're picking their spots with how they spend, and they don't break the bank on the entire roster. Maybe they do for a couple guys, and then they got to get smart about everyone else, and they've got to make trades where they take major leaguers and turn them into guys that are younger and have the potential to be good. So that's how the Brewers have sustained this. They've made the playoffs 6 out of 8 years. It's going to be 7 of 9 if they make it this year. And they've been in the bottom half or bottom third in payroll, Bob, the entire time.
Absolutely. It's about smart trades. But here in Pittsburgh, since there are no bats developing in their system, they need to go out and spend when they have an opportunity. And I phrase all of this with the Paul Skeens window in mind. Chuck in Uniontown, you're up next. Hello, Chuck. How are you tonight?
First of all, thanks, fellas. Excuse me. May I say on a personal note that I will be at the game tomorrow, and both of your fellas are on my list of people I'd like to meet.
Well, we'd like to meet you for sure, Chuck.
Yeah, I'll just have to roll with the punch and see how it goes. But no, Pony, I am 1,000% aligned with Pony. Don't trade Keller at all, because just what Pony says. You don't put that in the hands of Ben Cherington, whose trade record is horrible. And there are other ways that the Pirates can shore themselves up. Just like you mentioned a minute ago, Milwaukee. That's what the Pirates need to do.
Yeah, smaller market than Pittsburgh. Thanks, Chuck. We appreciate it, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see you tomorrow night. Yeah, but the bottom line here is Ben Cherington, I get the feeling, and I don't know if you agree with this, but it sounds like he is going to return next year. I haven't seen much in the way of, well, this is his last. And normally you would see or hear something here. I don't know about you, but it seems to me like he may be back.
Well, I think we're going to get an idea on what goes on at the trade deadline as far as that goes. If all they trade are expiring contracts and IKF here and Andrew Heaney there, then I would say it doesn't bode well for him, because that might mean his hands were tied. If they trade David Bednar, if they trade Mitch Keller, if they trade Brian Hayes and or Brian Reynolds, well, then I do think that would show that he is part of the bigger picture here in the plan moving forward. So I think we're going to get our answer here in the next 8 days, Bob.
Yeah.
And like I said, outside of Brian Hayes, and they just want to move that contract, is what everybody's saying. Get that money off the books.
It's not that much money.
Well, I know, but when a guy is a singles hitter, who's a 230 hitter with no power whatsoever, I do understand why they feel like they've overpaid for him, because they have.
What do they do with the $7 million then when they get it? That's the question. If you're going to save it because you think it's too much, then what? You got to spend money here. They're not doing a good enough job. Andrew, let's talk about that, because tomorrow it opens up. Trey Hendrickson still is without a deal, and he's not going to be there. Their number one pick, who also happens to play the same position, is not signed. They got problems there. How do you look at the AFC North, which I think is Baltimore's to win?
I agree. I do think that they are a little bit overrated, as it turns out. You know, they never win in the playoffs. They've never been to a Super Bowl in the Lamar Jackson era, and yet people kind of crown them before it happens. Cincinnati's team is in a state of chaos right now, Bob. The offensive line isn't very good, and the defense has major issues with Hendrickson just leaving and the first-round pick not being signed. However, they do have Joe Burrow, and that's the issue I have with putting the Steelers ahead of the Bengals. I just think Joe Burrow is one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL. And as long as you have him, you're going to have a chance. So that's why I think they can overcome their problems, because their quarterback is that good.
But they remind me of the Pirates in this way. They knew going into this season that their problems existed.
Pirates, they were in the Super Bowl a few years ago. They ain't Pirates baseball, Bob. That ain't nothing like the Pirates.
What I'm saying. What I'm saying is they knew their problems in this offseason and did nothing really to address them. They knew that they couldn't stop another team. The Pirates knew they had no hitting, and they went out and got no hitting, even though they knew they
made a
needed
decision.
Hitting. Cincinnati
They
needed
signed Chase
defense.
and they signed Higgins. That was their decision.
Okay, their decision is to load up on what they have already, and that's fine.
So you would have got rid of Higgins and brought in a defensive guy?
40-39, just like they did last year. It's going to be the same kind of stuff. I get what you're saying about Burrow, but they have not addressed their problems, and I still think it's going to hurt them. And we're out of time. And if you want to get your opinion heard, don't forget to tune in to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call tonight at 10:35 on KDKA+. So give us a call at 412-575-2600. We do it every night after the 10 o'clock news. For CBS News Pittsburgh, I'm Bob Pompeani.